You left my party before dessert. How can you do that? It's not proper etiquette.
I don't subscribe to the wait for dessert rule before you can leave a party.
Yeah, no one cares what you subscribe to, okay? We were trying to recreate what happened 25 years ago, and I said, Larry, would you like to make a toast? And someone said Larry went home to take a shit.
All right, so we are here. Jeff, it is Jeff Garlin and Susie Essman.
Yes.
On the history of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yes, and I will be enjoying a green juice.
Lovely green juice.
As we move along.
And I am having a water in my Curb Your Enthusiasm water bottle.
I've got a few of those different things. Some I don't care about. I think the coolest thing we've ever gotten is Curb Monopoly.
Yeah, I just got that. Have you played it yet? I haven't opened mine.
I haven't opened it, no. And you know I'm a Monopoly freak. That's my favorite game.
You know what? My kid, Cindy, my daughter, noticed it the other day, and she was like, "Oh, can we play that at Christmas?" I was like, "Yeah, that'll be fun."
Yeah, you know who my Monopoly buddy is? Gary Goldman.
Very funny guy.
I think I'm going to get all of us to sign one and give it to him for his birthday next year. He's I love him. He's one of my favorite people on earth.
That's very nice.
And funny.
So you'll have to bring it to New York next time you come.
Yeah.
All right. The Bowtie, season 5,
Yes.
episode 2. Man, I just watched these and it just feels like yesterday.
Yeah.
We start out with Larry telling the story. We don't know who he's speaking to. He's telling the story about his father in the hospital. And then, tells the whole, and then he said, "You're adopted." He said, first he said, "You're a doctor." I know I'm not a doctor. He said, "You're adopted." And then we see he's talking to Omar Jones.
And he says to me, "You're adopted."
He said that.
I think he said that. Maybe he said, "You're a doctor." I don't know. But why would he say I'm a doctor? I would know if I'm a doctor.
Why do you think he would wait until now to tell you?
Maybe he thought he was dying. I'm still not 100% sure that he said it.
So basically what you're saying is you want me to find out if you're adopted or not.
Yes.
Who is a private detective.
Played
He's
by
a black man.
Makai Fifer, I believe.
Makai Fifer,
Who, by
wearing
the way,
a bow tie.
Do you know how he ended up doing the show? There's always these weird things. He and I always turn down these types of shows. Always. Dancing with the Stars.
Which types of shows?
I'm getting into it.
Okay.
Forget reality, just these game showy things. I once did Family Feud with the Goldbergs versus Blackish.
That's a promo thing they make you do.
Well, I was actually playing for charity. And so my charity was Fuck Cancer, and I think they made 25 G's. Anyhow, that's the only other time.
Can I just tell you something?
What?
Jeff?
Yeah.
On, what was that show? The Millionaire Show? I raised $100,000 for charity. I was very proud of myself.
And I did another show with Chelsea Handler. I was playing against her and she killed me. Password, hosted by Regis Philbin. For me,
I did that one too.
The reason I did it is to be near Regis. I love Regis. By the way, I would have said yes to any game show he did.
By the way, you said Chelsea Handler was your person on Password. Do you know who my other guest was on Password?
Who?
It was quite special.
Who?
Betty White.
Oh, you lucky fuck. Wow.
Very lucky.
Do you know? This is one of my...
And my guy won $100,000, which made this a guy. He was my partner. He won $100,000. That was amazing.
You know, one of the answers was lice. And when I couldn't come up with it, blockage, Duke had lice at the exact same time. But Makai, I was on Celebrity Poker with Makai Fifer. And I made it when we were playing and we were having a ball. We kicked all the other celebrities and whatever. So it's just he and I playing at the end, to go to the big game. And we had a ball. We connected, really liked each other. Well, this part came up and I just said, "Can we have Makai Fifer do it?" And everyone said yes.
And he was great.
And by the way, you watch it and you go, that guy's a star. And I haven't seen him in anything in a while. I don't know what's going on. I haven't talked to him. I actually owe him a call. It's been a long time.
Careers are odd things.
Oh, no. By the way, the roller coaster, by the way, that's the thing you have to tell a young comedian. They need to know this, that I don't care how successful you are in either acting, music, look at
Comedy,
the
stand-up.
comedy, John Travolta had a big low. Sylvester Stallone, big low. Arnold was governor, so I wouldn't call that a big low.
Yeah.
And they're back up now. I'm saying it's like, I don't care how big you are. Tom Cruise had a space and time where he wasn't what he is now again. And it's always a roller coaster. And I'm hoping that there's not a big roller coaster for me there is already.
Well, you're a little old for that at this point, I think.
Old for a roller coaster?
Yeah. I mean, you reach a certain age and you reach a certain thing and,
I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, your career is established. Yes.
Established, man. Here's the thing. I'm a comedian and I'm a photographer. Those are the two things I do, okay? Those are the two things that I do that create money. My photography has been charity and comedy. I do charity events. But my dream is in the future, whatever I decide, I'm always going to do stand-up until I can't do it anymore. And I'm also going to do photography until I can. But that's my dream combo. And, if I got called for something, by the way, unless it's a great piece of material, I'm never doing another TV series. And I could do a limited series, that like an awesome one, but I'm retired from TV series. Unless Larry goes, I want to do this series, I'm in. So it would take something like that, but nonetheless.
Talking about people who have had late renaissances, Betty White is somebody who had a later in life renaissance.
Yes, and she was really big in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of her on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you the story, the password story about her. This shows what a pro she was. She was in her 90s by this point when I did this celebrity password with her. And she was hard of hearing. She was so sharp and so with it, but she was hard of hearing.
Till the end. Anywhere she showed up, she was amazing.
So her dressing room was right next to mine. And the woman who was her assistant had to speak really loud so that she could hear. So I overheard everything. And Betty asked her, who was the other celebrity? And she said, it was Susie Essman. And she said, I don't know who she is. She said, she's in Curb Your Enthusiasm. And Betty said, oh, I don't really like that show. And the assistant said, well, she's very funny in it. She has a big mouth. She's always cursing and blah, 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 blah. So then I meet Betty for the first time. And she couldn't, she was lovely. She couldn't have been more gracious. And she said to me, Susie, I'm so happy to meet you. I love the show. Please tell everyone on the show I said hello and watch your mouth. She said, and watch your mouth.
Wow.
So she knew immediately to develop rapport with me because we were going to be working together.
Well, by the way, you have no choice. You can't come out. I don't really like the show. Don't even say you've never said it. The show
I was not insulted at all. I found it funny.
You were looking. By the way, you would have loved her either way. But holy crap!
But I found it. I said, okay, this is a pro who's going to be working with me now for the next 2-3 hours, and she's going to develop a rapport with me. And she knew exactly what to say. I just found it so amusing.
And I do think she probably fell in love with you as the program went on.
We had a great time.
Yeah,
we had a great time. And I was thrilled to have had that experience with her.
By the way, a lot of times I found in show business, the people who irritate me the most, when I meet them at a party, I fall in love with them. There's a couple of examples of people I just couldn't watch them anymore. They just bug me.
They irritate you on screen.
Yes, on screen. Yeah. And by the way, they all had talent. Just the way they were using it, and numerous people. But then you go to a party and they're there, and you moan, "Oh no, so and so's here," and somehow you get together, either in a group or single, and
Jeff,
they're the best person ever.
It could work the other way around.
What do you mean?
There could be people who you really admire their work, and then you meet them and they're assholes.
Oh, that is,
it's so
Harold
disappointing.
Ramis, one of my two mentors, Harold Ramis and Paul Mazursky. I was very lucky to have both of them. And Harold Ramis always said to me, he kept saying, you don't want to meet your heroes, especially in comedy. You don't want to meet your heroes. And I've had that experience, and nothing to be sadder.
However, I met my hero in the last season, Mel Brooks, and he couldn't have been lovelier. So there you go.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it's every one. I'm saying there's exceptions. Mel Brooks would certainly be one. But I am saying that I've had the situation with I was excited.
And you shouldn't. Yeah, I know. So here we are with Omar Jones, the PI, private investigator, and Larry's telling him he wants him to find out if he's adopted. And Omar Jones says, well, how did you find out about me? And Larry said there was a big article about you and everybody said you were the best. And Omar Jones says, look, I serve the community and you don't really qualify for being a part of my community. You're just a white guy. And Larry, being the totally tone-deaf character that he is, starts trying to convince Omar Jones that he said he'll call a bingo game. He'll donate old sneakers.
And then he
totally tone-deaf.
By the way, Makai right away goes, I don't think those will be of help.
No, I don't think those will be of help.
The sneakers, I think, is funny, but him calling a bingo game as a suggestion, awesome.
And then he says he could be a big brother. And Omar Jones says he'll talk to the community leaders. But then, of course, Larry says, but, just like one time, I'll just take a kid once to a movie. It's not like a continual. He's true to his character. Then he asks Omar Jones for a key to the men's room. And then he says, Mr. Jones, I love the bow tie because he's wearing a bow tie. And Larry's in the bathroom and all the stalls are filled except the handicap stall is empty. And Larry uses the handicap stall and he comes out and there is a guy in a wheelchair very angry at him for using the handicap stall.
What are you doing?
Using the bathroom.
That's my stall. Did you see the placard on the stall?
Yes, I know, but somebody was using the other one, so I...
Well, then you wait.
I couldn't wait. It was an emergency. I had to go.
There's one stall for me, and you're in it.
If you were here, I would have given you first dibs. But honestly, I haven't seen a handicapped person in the bathroom, maybe ever. So I thought I could perhaps take my chances.
A handicapped person. That's nice. Oh, that's nice. It's called disabled.
Disabled?
Disabled.
Well, that doesn't sound so hot.
And he says, that was my stall.
By the way, I just want to inform our viewers, I don't care about political correctness, but I do care about respect. And that's not what they call it anymore. Handicap.
Well, we're going to get to that. They call it,
he said. Because they argue.
Yeah.
But back then, it was that adjustment in names, like also mentally challenged, mentally retarded, that exchange, you spend 30 years using the wrong word and it goes to something else. But you have to respect people and you have to accept it.
All right. So the guy in the wheelchair, that we don't have a name for, says it's not a handicapped person. It's called disabled.
I want to say for our show, except for one occasion, I think, everybody who's in a wheelchair is a paraplegic, etc. Like we used real people. It wasn't like an actor who can walk all around sitting in a wheelchair.
And then sits in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And Larry prefers handicapped. And then Larry is with you and questions, do black men who wear bow ties, are they always Muslim?
How do I respond?
I think you say that you think they are.
Okay.
Generally. You're not sure. You're not sure.
Yeah.
And then Larry sees a guy who pulls in. He's outside. He pulls into
Tom Virtue, a great actor. Yeah, great character actor. You've seen him in a million things. He's always great. He was really good in Green Book. He played the maitre d' who wouldn't let him in, and it was all...
Yes,
and he had a gentle Southern accent, which he doesn't have, and he has a special accent that's coming up.
Oh, yes, because Larry, this guy, Tom, what's his name?
Tom Virtue.
Tom Virtue parks in the disabled spot.
Whatever.
And Larry calls him out on it. He says,
What?
What's with the walking?
Fuck you. I have a stutter.
Yeah, but you can walk.
Look at my license plate. I have permission. You Fucking prick.
Fuck you, I have a stutter. And he has a handicap plate or a disabled plate. Then he's in the restaurant with you.
Well, by the way,
And-
it is a really hysterical moment. And Larry thinking up the idea, what would be an impediment that's not big enough and has nothing to do with walking or driving?
And driving, of course, nothing.
Yeah.
And then he's in the restaurant with you and he tells you that they got a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And Jody Funkhauser, played by Mayim Bialik. We were talking about game shows before.
Right.
Jeopardy host.
Yeah.
Also, she starred on The Big Bang Theory. And then she's an interesting woman. She left the business, I recall, to be a neuroscientist and then came back. She sees them and she just goes crazy over Larry. She ignores you completely. She's like, oh, hi, Jeff. Larry, Larry, Larry. And she's like crazy over Larry and barely says hello to you. And she's there with her dad, Marty Funkhauser. She's Marty Funkhauser's daughter. And she says, are you coming to the party, to the 25th anniversary party? And you're like, I am. And she just could care less what you're doing. And she's all over Larry. And then we find out when she leaves, lesbians love Larry.
Well, I'm really upset. I said, did you notice she could barely handle me being there and ignored me, but she was happy to see you.
Oh,
and that
God,
sets up Larry to say, lesbians love me.
Lesbians love him. And you say, friendo lesbians. Friendo lesbians. They completely embrace him. And as he's talking to you, he discovers the men's room key in his pocket. And he sees a guy in a bow tie, and he says, you know, that's a smart look. Maybe I'm going to start wearing a bow tie. And then Marty comes over to the booth and says, are you coming to the party? And he says that Larry's on the fence. You know, Larry, he doesn't like to go to parties.
But hold on. Classic Bob. Are you coming
Deadpan.
to the party? No. It's going to be great. It'll be the greatest. You'll have a ball. You know, that's Bob offstage too. You know, the enthusiasm.
You know, I remember shooting that scene at the party with him that day, and we were laughing we were in uncontrollable laughter that day. I just remember it.
Well, by
Don't
the
make
way,
me cry.
remember the thing that he always did? He'd call you.
These are my best friends?
No, well, that's a joke that we'll get to that is my favorite. It's one of my favorite jokes of all time. But after filming, he would call you, I, Larry. We all got this phone call. Wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? That scene was great. Oh. And we all got that call. And I loved it, by the way.
I miss him.
It's so painful, you know.
So he tells Larry that Rosie O'Donnell is coming and she's sitting next to Larry.
Which,
And
by the way, that premise is awesome. We'll know where it goes. It's just so funny. And Larry's excited.
Yeah, he's excited. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to come. He's thinking about coming. And Larry tells him that he saw Jody. Jody looks great. And Marty tells him she's dating a guy and it's serious. And she's no longer gay. And Larry, overly enthusiastic.
You're kidding. It's fantastic. Congratulations. Good for you. She's not a lesbian anymore. Oh, my God. Good going.
All right, I'll see you soon.
Hey, I'll see you at the party.
That's fantastic. She's not a lesbian anymore. And you see Marty's face, just that drop of his face, and he's not happy. And then Larry walks into the house, and Cheryl is standing there, and Cheryl says,
Larry, we need to talk.
It's over?
What's over?
The marriage?
Why would our marriage be over?
You said we need to talk.
Yeah, we need to talk about Marty Funkhauser's party.
Oh, okay. I thought... forget it.
No, what'd you think?
Well, you said we need to talk. Generally, when couples break up, that's how they introduce it. We need to talk. So I just thought it was...
Well, why would you even think that?
This is one of the most subtle, funny scenes I've ever seen.
And Larry's response is, what, it's over? The marriage is over? And she's like, why would our marriage be over? No, we need to talk about whether or not we're going to go to Funkhauser's party. I need to RSVP. And she's like, why would you think that? And he said, well, in all my past relationships, when a woman says to me, we need to talk, that means they're breaking up with me. But Cheryl notices that he lit up. She's like, well, why would you light up like that? He says, well, it's just a defense mechanism. And she's like, are we going? And Rosie's going to be at our table, and I might wear a bow tie. They decide they're going to go. And then there's a knock at the door, and it's Wanda. She wants to look at their new house, and their new house is a rental because their other house is being renovated. And Wanda doesn't like it. It's cold like a hotel, and she tells Larry to put on a bellman's cap. And Larry asks her, Wanda, let me ask you a question. And you know what's coming. Is it wrong to assume a black man wearing a bow tie is a Muslim? And Wanda gets pissed. She's like, I'm not your link to the black community. Stop asking me about black people. And this is something that white people tend to do, I think.
Ask about black people?
You ask black people questions like when white people see a black person, they immediately think about race. And ask them about race. I've had black friends tell me this.
Well, by the way, as we both have and have worked with numerous people of color, all different colors, I disagree, and I'll tell you why. When I see someone in a wheelchair, I actually talk to them about everything. I ask questions, and they're thrilled to answer. Nobody asks them.
Well, you're not disagreeing with me. No. You're just saying that you don't do that.
Well, but I'm saying, like, for example, one night a guy was in the audience, and I may have talked about this before. A guy was in the audience in the front row, and I'm talking to him, and I said to him, what's the thing when you're on the spectrum, but you're not all the way? Asperger's. So he's talking, and I go, you have Asperger's, don't you? And he goes, yeah. How did you know? I go, I just figured out. He was thrilled that I pointed out he had Asperger's and he could talk about it. But I think, and I don't question it, it's my mind thinking like a child. A child wouldn't think twice to ask a question. And I think that's the part of me.
Well, that's the beauty of children.
Yes. It's also... It keeps me funny in terms of, as a comedian, that I'm not afraid. Certainly there's inappropriate questions, and I don't ask those, but nonetheless.
So he says to Wanda, have you ever seen a black man wearing a bow tie who's not a Muslim? And she doesn't want any part of this conversation. Cheryl says, I got a dog. And Wanda says that's why she came over. And the dog sees Wanda and growls and barks. And then a worker comes out, a white guy, and the dog is very, very friendly. And then a black worker comes out and the dog barks. And Wanda comes to the conclusion that you have a racist dog.
You have a racist dog. The dog hates black people. Wanda. There, you trained the dog to hate black people?
No, I didn't train it to hate black people.
Has it barked at any white people?
No, he's...
So he hasn't barked at any
Exactly.
white
Your
people.
dog is racist.
Sheriff's racist?
Sheriff? That's a perfect name for a racist dog. Where'd you get this dog? With the Klan meeting or something?
Did you train your dog to be racist? And the dog's name is Sheriff. And she's like, what'd you get him at a Klan meeting? You got a Klan dog. He's looking at me like I'm a T-bone. And that's established that the dog does not like black people. And then we are at the Funkhauser's 25th anniversary party. And Larry is, in fact, wearing a bow tie. And we're all, you and I and some other people, and Larry and Cheryl are at the table, and the waiter is giving us the specials, and we're trying to order. And there's a table next to us, very loud, laughing, having fun. It's a black family, and they're loud. And Larry leans over and asks them to keep it down. And the guy who's at the head of the table gets very offended and says, we need to keep it down for Tucker Carlson over here. Now, what I found interesting was the Tucker Carlson reference, because Tucker Carlson is an evil, fucking creepy, disgusting human being. At that time, he was not so much.
No,
At that time, he was on Crossfire, and he was just like a conservative. It's like when we did that episode about the producers a couple of weeks ago, and Katie Huffman has a picture of George W. Bush in her dressing room.
It was an extreme.
Things have changed.
It devolved into what we have now.
So then he sees a lesbian character played by our dear friend Sue Kolinsky, who I adore.
Oh, seeing Sue Kolinsky, who's a
Sue
comedian.
Kolinsky was somebody that we did stand up with in New York from many, many years ago.
When I was a young comedian, a really young comedian, she saw something in me, and she was so kind and supportive to me. Whenever I worked with her, I was just thrilled. She's a great girl. But you remember everyone that's really nice to you and everyone that's really horrible. And the best thing is when the horrible people who've treated you like crap, once you're successful, change their tune, you don't let them know. You don't give them that satisfaction. You let them keep on with their line. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's the good old times. I could say you never booked me.
But Sue Kolinsky was not one of those.
No, she was someone who...
She was a good guy. Still is.
Especially for a young comedian. And I started at 20. I'm talking back then. She was, an established comedian is being kind to me and likes me. There were others, but I always remember Sue, and I love Sue.
And Sue, Larry waves to her and she ices him. And then we do a little turn around the room and we see all the other lesbians giving him dirty looks. And Larry goes over to Sue and he's like, what's the snub? And she tells him that the fact that he got so excited that Jody Funkhauser was not with women anymore, that all the lesbians are really, really upset. And she says,
You used to be such a liberal guy, Larry.
I'm liberal?
No, you're not liberal.
I am liberal.
No. Look what you look like. Look at the bow tie.
The bow tie. I just tried out a bow tie. So
Excuse me.
what?
Excuse me. You know what? I'm sorry. Don't even waste your time talking to this man. This man is a racist. He has a racist dog. He has a dog that attacks black people.
Okay, I do. The dog is racist, but I didn't train him to be racist.
Larry, forget about it.
How do you know that?
Because we talk, Larry.
the lesbian community used to revere you and look at you, what you've turned into. And you're wearing a bow tie and the black guy at the table, we never find out his name, says, this guy has a racist dog. He starts telling
No,
Sue
by the way,
character.
that guy was an actor, or is an actor. He was getting well known then. I cannot remember his name, and he might have been on Doogie Howser, but he had a really good part in a very popular show.
But in our show, he didn't have a name, so
the
that's
no
why
name guy. Okay.
I hate referring to him as the black guy at the table, but he didn't have a name. And Larry says, "How do you know I have a racist dog?" And he says, "We talk." And then Larry goes over to Marty Funkhauser. He's like, "What did you tell Jody?" And Marty says, "I told her you were overjoyed. And I was giving you the benefit. I don't need the benefit." They get into the whole benefit thing. And then Larry says, "Where's Rosie O'Donnell?" And Marty says, "She's not here. She's not here now." And they do a stare down. Larry and Marty do a stare down.
That was a stare down that must have been at least a dozen takes because Larry couldn't get through it.
You can't do a stare down with those two without a dozen takes.
No. But Bob, and you can see at the end, the face Bob makes that ends it is just, wow, hilarious.
Well, Bobby was, the deadpan king.
Right.
And then Bob calls, I love this next scene. Bob calls over Dan, who is Jody's boyfriend, Jody's new boyfriend, and introduces him to Larry. Not Bob, Marty. Marty then walks away. And Larry starts a whole riff with Dan, Jody Funkhauser's boyfriend, about how he admires him to have to overcome
By the
whole...
way, the actor's name, I believe, Marcus Redmond, who played the black gentleman at the table.
That is his name. Okay. I know who he is.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great guy and a wonderful actor. Is.
Yeah. And Larry starts this whole riff with Jody's new boyfriend, Dan.
Terrific. And to have to overcome the whole situation, the whole sexual thing,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's nothing to overcome, really.
Well, no, the fact that she's been with women before you, I'd be really intimidated by that because, we really...
Intimidated?
Well, because we don't know what we're doing as much as the women know. It's their equipment. They own the equipment. So they know what to do with it. Do you know what's going on down there? I don't have any idea.
I'd like to think that I do.
That whole area is so mysterious to me, I'm just saying. I'd be intimidated. I know that.
Basically, to have to overcome the whole sexual thing, I'd be so intimidated by that. It's their equipment. They know what to do. They know what's going on down there. It's completely a mystery to us. It's alien. I'd be intimidated. And you see Dan starting to think about it and starting to take in what Larry's saying. And he never thought about this before. And we just know no good is going to come from this.
Speaking as for myself, I don't want to say, I can say a lot of men feel this way. The vagina is very mysterious and overwhelming.
Is it really?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What do you touch? How do you do it? The whole festival. Very overwhelming. And I also found that different women, their vaginas look different, and they have different likes with their vagina, and the vagina's...
But that's true with penises as well, Jeff.
I think
men's penises look
by
completely
the way,
different.
Vaginas are delightful. Men's penises are an embarrassment.
Well, but vaginas are much more complicated.
But the
than
word
penises.
vagina, penis, vagina. Vagina's got a nice ring to it unless you're doing the monologues.
Even then. Next, Larry's at our table, and he wants to go home. And the dessert has not been, he needs to go to the bathroom. And this project demands I need my base. He needs to go home. And Cheryl tells Larry she doesn't want to go home. And she thinks it's ridiculous. And he says to her, "You're Gentile. You can go in the middle of Fifth Avenue. It's different for Jews." Which I always remember that line. And I say to him, "You can't leave before dessert. It's an affair. That's the rules. The rules don't apply to you. You are not See, now on this, Susie Essman is on Larry's side. I don't subscribe to any of those rules either. That these things, these social niceties.
Well, by the way, I've never even heard of the dessert one. Was that made up or is that true?
No. That people will tell you can't leave. Like you can't leave a wedding before the wedding cake is cut.
I understand the wedding cake, but mind you, I'm diabetic. So why wouldn't I be allowed to leave before dessert's served?
Because it's not about your diabetes or your sweetness or eating it or not. It's about that's the end of the evening, the affair. That's when you're allowed to leave.
If I may,
the rules.
There's an open bar. Many people are drunk. I'm leaving.
Jeff, you have no argument for me.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this is protocol.
By the way, the number one thing outside of comedian alcoholics, the number one just hated thing by comedians, don't approach a comedian if you're drunk. But then again, if you're drunk, you're not taking the pause that I'm mentioning right now. But having discussions, even of how good I was,
hate it,
whatever.
Hate it.
Drunk people in Friday late shows, which contain the most drunk people.
And drunk people also think that when you're on stage and they start shouting things out, they're helping you.
Well, not only do they think they're helping you, but I'm talking off stage. They talked, ugh.
So Larry then goes to the men's room and there's a line. And he goes to the handicapped stall, the disabled stall.
Hey, what do you think you're doing, pal? What are you doing?
I'm going to the bathroom.
I don't think so. That's a handicapped stall.
I have a stutter, you pricks.
Stutter my ass.
And all the guys in line say, "You can't go there." And he starts stuttering. He's like, "I stutter." And he starts stuttering. Doesn't work. He leaves.
Which, by the way, awesome callback.
Yeah, awesome callback.
Yeah.
And it's not over. And then they're at home. It's the next day. Cheryl leaves and she says, "Don't forget to take the dog out." And the phone rings and it's Omar Jones. And he's thinking about taking the case. But he says, "I got a disturbing call today about your behavior at the banquet. Did you tell, a brother in the next table to keep it down?" And Larry's like, "How do you know about that?" And he says, We talk, we know.
But which, by the way, builds to something. But you know what? I like logic. I'm a big fan of it in things. This was just so different. It didn't bother me at all that everyone knew of whatever group, lesbians or black people, that they all talk and they knew. I think, by the way, if you're a notable person and you behave in a certain way, it will get out. it will spread.
Yes, but that was not the conceit of this.
Right, but
the conceit of this is that
but it happened instantly. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, because they talk.
Yeah.
And also, Omar Jones mentions to Larry that he went home with the bathroom key.
Right.
And then Sheriff is tied up outside, Sheriff the dog, up outside the restaurant. He's in a restaurant with you. And the dog is barking at a lot of black people. And the lesbian waitress is so nice to Larry. She offers him a free dessert. And she's like, nice to have you back, Larry. And you say to him, you're back in the lesbian bosom. There's a montage of lesbians just quelling at him, glowing at him. And he says that, I wonder why. And Marty then knocks on the window door and calls him out. And he says, what did you say to Dan? And apparently Dan was totally flummoxed by Larry's conversation with him. And he broke up with Jody. And Jody is back with a woman now. And then he also says, you left before dessert. It's not the proper etiquette. And he wanted Larry to make a toast. And he said, I said, is Larry David here? I want him to make a toast. And people said, Larry David went home to take a shit.
Yeah, I know.
And then Larry runs into Rosie O'Donnell. And she said, she heard everything that happened because they talk. And they had a meeting.
Actually, Rosie uses the term at the meeting.
At the meeting. She said they had a meeting.
Yeah.
She said,
I stood up at the meeting. I told everybody, I know the guy. I vouch for you. You're all right.
You're something.
Come on.
It all worked out, right?
It's great.
Yeah.
Listen, she's happy. We're happy.
Fantastic.
She's back on the team. Everything's good. Don't even think about it.
Fantastic.
All right.
It's all good. She vouched for him. That he's back on the team. And he says to her, I missed you at the Funkhauser party. And she says, what? Oh, Jody's father? I don't really know him. And he says, you weren't invited? She said, no, I wasn't invited. So Marty was a fucking liar about that. Rosie wasn't even invited to the party. And she leaves and she says, all lesbians love you. Everything's fixed. And then he goes to Omar's office, Omar Jones's office, to return the key. And Omar is on his little prayer rug, on his knees, praying, facing east. And he's like, I see.
And then the idea that Larry sits down in front of him, maybe a foot away, is really funny, Larry.
And he does that very Jewish thing. It's like, go.
Yeah.
Pray. Yeah. And then he asks him, are brothers and sisters sensitive to being told to keep it down? And then then Omar folds up the mat and he says, oh, you fold that up like a yoga mat.
No,
says,
it's not an observation. Yeah. He does another question. It's like a yoga mat, right?
Yeah. And Omar tells him, listen, Muslims are forgiving people, and I'm going to take your case, but I'm going to charge you a higher rate. And he goes to shake his hand. He says, do Muslims shake? And he returns the bathroom key. And he says, oh, wait, but first I have to go to the bathroom. And the stall's full, but the handicap stall is empty. And the same guy in the wheelchair comes out of what they are calling, I am not calling, the normal toilet.
Yes.
And...
Oh, no, you can
Larry
say
says
it.
To him,
you don't have to say that, the normal toilet, but you can also say...
Well, Larry says to him, Larry says, we don't like to be referred to as normal. We are able-bodied. That's from the 80s. And then he says to him, then you wait. So it's a complete callback. And he goes out and he gets Sheriff, the dog, and Omar comes out and starts walking towards him because Larry forgot the bathroom key again, forgot to give him back the bathroom key. And you see Larry's panicked because Omar said he was going to take the case and he wants Omar to take the case.
And then Omar is coming in shot slow motion.
And Larry's very afraid that Sheriff is going to go after him.
And it's actually one of those things, as an audience, you're going, what the fuck's going to happen?
Yeah, because you know that Sheriff is a racist dog.
Yeah.
And Sheriff, we saw it in the scene before, is barking at dogs, at black people outside the restaurant. And Larry's very worried. And then finally, Omar comes over and he pets Sheriff and everything is fine. And he says, I love dogs. And then Rosie shows up and Sheriff now goes after Rosie because now he's changed from being a racist dog to a homophobic dog.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. And by the way, I want to also add, as an actor, and this has happened to me, if you have a guest appearance, I don't care whether you're somebody big or small, and there's a connection, your performance is great, and there's a connection. Larry David wrote that for a future season, that whole run. She was in the whole season, Rosie. And he wrote that because he loved being around her. And he really enjoyed working with her. And she was solid as a rock. So
that was the next season. This is season 5.
Right.
The season where she was in the whole room was season 8.
Yeah. Okay.
Season 8.
But she was, I love her. And
yeah, I've known Rosie forever. She's a good friend. But that's how he operates,
No, I'm saying that's how we operate on the show. That's how I operate. If you're a joy, I only want to keep working with you. It's like crew members. You want to keep the same crew members if you have a great time and they do great work.
Jeff, I was a day player. I was not a series regular.
Oh, on Curb, yeah. Well, by the way, I'm going to use this phrase. Susie, you could not be denied. You're that good.
Well, but I didn't know that. Every season we would finish. I never knew if I was coming back. I didn't have a contract, but he wanted me there, so I was lucky.
Yeah. Well, that's the end of episode 2, season 5.
Season 5, and we will see you next week with episode 3.
Very exciting. Thank you for listening.